Sittingbourne and Kemsley Light Railway is a railway based on an industrial railway for the paper-making industry. Starting just before the turn of the century, it was built to a contract, we believe, around 1923, when the railway was built to connect the mills at Sittingbourne, Kemsley and Riddham Dock for the transport of paper pulp, coal, china clay in the incoming direction, and then the paper was taken back up by barge from Riddham Dock to London for the newspaper trade. In 1969, the Bowaters Company decided that they were going to move over to road transport, and they didn't want to lose the railway, and the Bowaters Company approached Peter Manasty, who was at that time the chairman of the Preservation Society, and they arranged for the transfer of the railway to the Locomotive Club of Great Britain. The Locomotive Club of Great Britain was not really into preservation as such, and the narrow gauge group formed the Sittingbourne and Kemsley Light Railway to act as the administration company for the railway. The preserved railway now is following the traditions by operating predominantly original stock and locomotives. There are a few additions, such as a few coaches from the Chattenden and Upnor Railway, but predominantly the stock and the locomotives all came from the Bowaters Railway, which was formerly the Lloyd's Paper Mill Railway. There are original passenger coaches run by Bowaters on the railway still, but a lot of the Bowaters pulp wagons have actually been converted into carriages by the members over the years. The locomotive operating today is Melia, which is a Kerr Stewart Brazil class 042 tank engine, built in 1924 and having Hackworth valve gear. It's one of a number of locomotives built for a variety of gauges. Our locomotive was built to the 2'6" gauge. The other locomotive is Triumph. This is a Bagnall 062 locomotive built in 1934 and was used in the handover ceremony in 1969. It's currently in full working order, although not in steam today. The railway that we run today, it runs from Sittingbourne to Kemsley Mill, through the industrial part of Sittingbourne and then over Church Marshes to Kemsley. Sittingbourne station exists on the embankment just to the north of the Sittingbourne Mill. It used to be the exchange sidings when the trains arrived at the mill. It's now been turned into a station and is our current access for the public. On leaving the station, the train passes over a long concrete viaduct, probably fairly unique in preservation. The viaduct being some 800 metres long and twisting over various works and plant along the line. It finishes close to Milton Halt, as it's called, which is now next to the Asda supermarket. From Milton Halt, the line then proceeds to go across Church Marshes. Alongside the line you will see several arches in the steam pipes. The steam pipes actually go along the railway from Sittingbourne right through to Kemsley Mill and feed the mill at Sittingbourne from the power station and boilers at Kemsley Mill. These arches were often put in for the industry in and around the railway. Some of the arches on the viaduct also were wide enough to take tracks for other railways, clay, tramways and things like that for the brickmaking industry. The railway, after crossing Church Marshes, comes to Kemsley Down Station. Kemsley Down Station is a new station built by the members with the help of the paper mill when we took it over in 1969. It now houses the locomotive department, the carriage wagon department and all our other facilities, refreshments, shop, etc. It is here that all the locomotives are maintained and is our main operating base. The railway yard at Kemsley Down has been set up as a museum walk. This allows the public to come and look at all the vehicles and locomotives that the railway possesses. We have pretty well all vehicles which were originally used by the railway in the mill days, so that we've got an example for historic purposes. There is also a museum of artefacts, including photographs from the operating days of the railway. Around the sidings you can see carriages of the original type, wagons for pulp and china clay and coal, and locomotives, including Unique, a fireless locomotive of 2-foot-6 gauge. The railway also possesses 6 original locomotives: Alpha, Triumph, Superb, Bagnalls 062s, and Leader, Premier and Melia, which are Kerr Stewart Brazil class 042s. 3 of the locomotives are normally in service. At the moment Melia is in full service, Triumph is in full service and Superb is going through its 10-year overhaul. Others are in various stages of preservation. The railway is fairly unique in that it is run completely by volunteers, and every member of the railway is a volunteer. Each member who wants to do work on the railway has to go through a training program, and they can take on any of the tasks: driving, firing, catering, working on the locomotives in the workshops, carriage and wagon, model railway, and a host of other tasks that you need to run a railway. There is no way that the Sittingbourne and Kemsley Light Railway can be described as a scenic railway. It is very much an industrial railway. We try to keep that character even today, so you will not find us polishing the brass to the extent that a lot of railways do. We like to try and run trains in their original formation at various special events, and we have a gala at the end of the year when we run goods trains and all available locomotives and carriages that are in service.